And now we're getting into our first guest for this morning, and we are being joined by a very familiar face, and that is none other than Mr. Luke James Trim, CARICOM Ambassador. Good morning and welcome to you, Luke.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kandace. Good morning, Mr. Skeete. Good morning, Tobago. It feels good to return home. I miss you all. I'm really excited to be on air this morning.
He's on the other side
Yes.
of the table now, sitting as interviewee. And in fact, for those of you, if you didn't know at all, you might have been under a rock. Youth certainly had. Luke has been one of our youth hosts here on the Tobago Updates morning show, continuing to do great things. So
Along
indeed,
with being a reporter, don't forget
yes,
that
also
part.
also being a reporter. Candace won't miss that moment. But certainly, we are indeed proud that you continue to excel. And we want to start this morning very much by talking about this most recent achievement. And we would have seen you've also been in the Tobago space recently doing a courtesy call. Tell us a little bit about, the CARICOM Youth Ambassador. What exactly is that for the benefit of those persons listening in or tuned in that are not as familiar?
Okay, sure. So the CARICOM Youth Ambassador, well, the program is a program that focuses on advocacy and getting youth, especially the youth in the island that you were selected from, to educate them about CARICOM issues, and the opportunities that they can benefit through CARICOM. Now, sometimes when we tell a young person that, okay, I'm a CARICOM ambassador, like, what is that? So then we'll switch it and tell them, think about diplomacy, think about the UN, think about speaking on issues such as HIV and AIDS and climate change. And that is what the program is all about, focusing on the regional integration of the youth from the CARICOM states.
All right. And it's important to mention here, tell us in terms of CARICOM Youth Ambassador for Trinidad and Tobago. There are two of you, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So, the one from Trinidad, that's my dear friend, that's Miss Samantha Rampasad. She's the ambassador representing Trinidad. I also have my alternate, that's Miss Jessica Forbes. That's another person who is no stranger to the Tobago youth space. So I'm really excited to have Samantha as my ambassador and Jessica as my alternate, because they are people that I'm familiar with. They are people that I vibe with really well. So there's no tension. We can really come together and issue out our ideas, and it's a really cohesive relationship.
So, Luke, can you tell us a little bit about what has your experience been so far? As being a CARICOM youth ambassador over the past few months. What has that meant for you? Just give us an idea about your experience.
Well, ever since I became an ambassador, it really opened up my eyes to the issues that are in the youth space. I think before I had like a general idea of what's happening in the youth space, and then becoming an ambassador, I got to see that yes, there are the general issues, but there are the issues that no one speak about. We have the youth tokenism, where young people that we are just being used probably for a PR stunt. They will take a picture of us and say, "Oh, we are so happy to have the youthful perspective," when in reality, us as the youth, we are given that equal opportunity at the decision table. When we look at segregation within the youth space, I think a lot of the people to youth work, they want to participate in this youth group, but there's this general misconception that youth work is reserved for the smart kids, the nerds, the degree holders, those who went to a particular school, those who come from a certain background. I always like to educate people and tell them, no, that is not the case. If you want to get into youth work, if you want to get into all those youth groups, beauty, it's all about being young and being someone who wants to contribute to the development of their community. Becoming an ambassador now, it really made me realize that, okay, now I have this platform where we can really get to it, where I can really see how I can address these issues. And that's how it's been thus far, in addition to that. We really had a program, there's room for improvement. The last program was during the COVID pandemic. So most of the initiatives were done online, and that may have resulted in people not really knowing what the program is about. So now, as the ambassadors for the program out of COVID, we really want to make a bang. We really want that when you can stop any random young person and ask them, what do you know about CARICOM? They can give you a well informed answer. So that's where we're at.
Excellent. Look, I want to take the opportunity also because certainly, I'm someone that's always very proud in terms of, and very passionate when it comes to youth development. Tell us a little bit. I know also persons see Luke James Trim, and persons may wonder, is this the first time Tobago is being involved? And I particularly know we have the privilege of having had past young men continuing to represent us as something very impressive indeed, not just dominated by female only, but young men. Care to mention a name or two in terms of past CARICOM youth ambassadors from Trinidad and Tobago that would have been based in Tobago?
Sure. So, Mr. Keegan Denoon, sometimes I like to view him as a mentor. He was the elder before me, and Keegan is someone who is very passionate about youth development, especially our young men. Sometimes when I need that guidance, when I need that direction, Keegan is just one phone call away. Then we have Mr. Dexter has always been at the forefront of youth entrepreneurship. These are young men that have really cleared the path and made avenues for young men like me. So I always say that if it weren't for them, like showing me that it can be done, I don't think that I would have been in the spaces that I am for today. So I really want to thank Keegan and Mr. Wilson for just them for being passionate about our young men and ensuring that the stigma around men and our young boys being on the opposite side of the law, that they can probably and strategies and policies that can help alleviate that perception. So I thank them. I really, really thank them.
Indeed, shout outs there, Keegan Denoon and Dexter Wilson again, two of our young men doing well on the outside. Look, in the earlier comment, you touched on the issue of community. And I know even from beyond just CARICOM Youth Ambassador, interacting with you, your community and family life and support in terms of friends, that's part of your drive and your energy. Tell us a little bit about, the importance of that, in terms of sharing to motivate and encourage other young persons out there.
So, Mr. Skeete, I really love this question because community means me. I think as I got older, when I was younger, I always saw the community probably intimate relationship with, and then as I got older, I realized that it really comes down to your friends and the people you have in your circle. Mr. Skeete, there were times where I wasn't feeling 100%, and because of the friends, because of how they thought about me and the way they encouraged me, I was able to participate in things I never knew I would have participated in. And this is an opportunity where I have to really shout out my really, really, really good friend, Miss Kaylee Lewis. She's always by my side. She's been sticking with me. She's been encouraging me at times where I never felt 100%. And then my community of Mount St. George, that village, sometimes we always say that it takes a village to raise a child. And it sounds cliche, it sounds like, okay, I've heard this before, but that has been my case as a young boy growing up in the village of Mount St. George. The villagers, they always had that level of care for me. They will always call my grandparents, always look, if there's a program or something to benefit from, they would have advocated vigorously for me to get into it. And I always like to tell people that if it weren't for that level of care I received from my community at Mount St. George, they always having faith in me and wanting me to unlock within myself, become the best version of myself possible, I don't think it would have been a Luke James stream for today. And when I look at my family, family values mean a lot to me. My mom, Luan James, she made a lot of sacrifices to ensure that I am comfortable and I am okay. Even my aunt, Natasha James Bedlow, sometimes I used to call her my career manager. She would have really helped me switch from, really get into the world of media, would have encouraged me, gave me tips on how I should do my interviews. My aunt Ruby James Waldron's my spiritual guide. Sometimes she will call me for health checkups and to make sure I'm okay and give me that spiritual guidance, the scripture readers, and all their support really, really mold me into the young man I am today. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. My friends in a circle, who they are. I just really love and appreciate them because if it wasn't for their support, their love, and their encouragement, it would have been a difficult.
Well, Luke, as a CARICOM Youth Ambassador, what can we look forward for coming from you from in Tobago here?
So my main goal is to mobilize youth groups here in Tobago. I think I really want that youthful presence to be felt here in Tobago. I want that every time people driving on the side of the street, they're seeing some youth group doing something. I want us to get as active as possible. I think too often that most of the youth groups here in Tobago, they're a bit too, a Christmas hamper drive, sometimes a back to school, but I want youth to be out 24/7, because it's always, if a older head feel always okay, yeah, it's them, but when a young person does something or slip up, it's always them young people collectively, or how we say it in Tobago, them nowadays pick me. I think every person slips up, they always use it to categorize us on the whole. So I want for every youth group in Tobago to really get active. I want them to get probably more involved in the issues and more initiatives that are happening here in Tobago. And there's this conception that we always have to work twice as hard for half as much. I really want to see we as young people, we could really end this tokenism. Tokenism is and it's always yeah, let's take a picture, snap. Oh, we had a long conversation with CARICOM Youth Ambassador Luke James Sherman, and nothing of the sort happened. I think that needs to end. The youth, we are not stupid. We could see through the bluff, we could see through the pretentiousness. So I really want the older heads and the decision makers to know that we are not here for that nonsense. So those are a few of my goals as CARICOM Youth Ambassador.
Tell us, and I'm happy that you mentioned that, how vital it is, and I know you've spoken to groups in a very broad way as one of the entities getting involved. How do you see yourself as CARICOM Youth Ambassador, even reaching out and helping to connect those young persons that we have out there that probably don't belong to formal groups? They are more in the informal groups, so we meet up and we lime every Friday, or we do something on the outside, and even some of those that are still caught in that web of not even recognizing the benefits of being in a group or an organization. So they go to school, they go to church, and then they are back home. Your thoughts on that, and any strategies in terms of reaching out to those young persons as well?
Well, I always like to start by asking them, what are you passionate about? Sometimes we have the youth in agriculture, we have the youth that are really good with their hands, we have the seamstress, the tailors, we have the youth that, well, like to argue. So those youths, I like to get into advocacy. I like to ask them, what are you passionate about? And from that, I can guide them in the direction, well, that could really help you with that. I remember earlier in this year, January, for the Caribbean Youth Leaders Summit that took place right here in Tobago, I met about 3 years and they told me, okay, I want to get into you, but I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I first started asking her, what are you passionate about? She told me she loves PR, she loves social media. Then I would have called one of my dears who is the president for a particular youth group, and I said, hey, there's this young person that really wants to get into youth work, and I think she has the talent and the skills when it comes to public relations, and she's now the public relations officer for that particular youth group. So I always like to ask them to find out where their passions lie and try to see how best I can align them with a youth group that will represent their interests in the best way possible. In addition, for the youth there in Tobago, I really want them to have that Tobago pride. Before I moved to Trinidad to start university, I didn't realize the importance of having that Tobago pride and that Tobago love. Sometimes when you hear the misconceptions Trinidadians have of us here in Tobago, it really makes you wonder, like, wow. So recently I would have started the Tobago Students Association here in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm now serving as the president here because I really wanted the students here at UB to have been a Tobagonian. I know sometimes they feel like the minority here in Trinidad, and I really wanted to assist them in terms of remembering who you are, culture, remembering our heritage. I remember when UE had their Guild Fair, and all those islands had a tent where they could have displayed their culture. And Mr. Skeete, Kandace, I made about 3 laps around the quad, and there was no Tobago tent, and it made me feel disappointed as a Tobagonian that all these islands, all these countries are getting the opportunity to showcase their culture and their heritage, and Tobago is nowhere to be found. So from that situation, I said, okay, I'm going to start an association. I reached out to another youth, that's Miss Chrisanne John. She was always part of starting the association, and now we have kicked it off. And we're going to start populating the media. We're going to start populating you and letting everybody know what Tobago is all about. And that is where we are at the moment.
That's exciting things to look forward to, you, Luke. And I mean, we're just so happy to hear from you. And the next time, you should actually be on set with us so we can have a deeper conversation and, explore some of these things that you're doing.
Sure. No problem. No, I love being in the studio. The studio is where my second heart is at. So I have no problem with that, Candice.
Certainly.
And in case, just as we prepare to wrap up, Luke, those persons who may have missed your final show or shows and just saying, but I'm not seeing our youth host, Luke James Trim, on a Wednesday anymore. Care to give an update to the viewers and listeners, Luke?
So, viewers and listeners, yes, I do miss you all here on the Wednesday morning show. Currently, I'm bachelor's of law. I am studying at the UA St. Augustine. So I am far, but I'm still near. I still miss you all. Some have calls from people calling me like, Luke, I miss you on the show. Luke, I miss you. But worry not. I will be back soon later. Very, very soon. So just hold on to that. But I really miss vibing with you all here on the Wednesday shows. I miss Dwayne. I obviously miss Kaylee, but I do be seeing Kaylee sometimes. So I just miss the energy and the support that Tobago Updates brought. And soon and very soon I'll be back. I'll be back in the studio. I'll be back reporting. I'll be back hosting. So bear with me.
Indeed,
Looking
indeed.
forward to it,
And
Luke.
commendations, because even now, while you're across in Trinidad, you continue to make that impact and to represent, and you now have a broader opportunity at the level of Trinidad and Tobago. As Kandace says, we are out of time, but certainly we'd like to have those further conversations that speaks to that broader impact as CARICOM Youth Ambassador, because we have no doubt, we are already extremely proud and knowledgeable of your work here. We also want that impact so that Trinidad and Tobago understands Luke James Trim, and certainly we continue to wish you the very best out there. And I know, like most of Tobago that would have gone before you, you will continue to leave that mark, ensure that they know without a shadow of a doubt Tobago is part of Trinidad and Tobago, a distinct at that,
Correct.
and certainly making our contribution at the national level and beyond. So kudos and commendations again to you, Luke James Trim, our
Thank you, Mr.
CARICOM Youth
Skeete.
Ambassador for Trinidad and Tobago, one of two, certainly representing out there. It's son of the soil that we continue to be very proud of.
Oh yes, I'm always very proud of Luke. Always, always, always. And I certainly miss him being around, So
What comes back to me immediately, I remember that snapshot when our camera and directors here did that pick out of Luke. Recommendations too also coming from his very good friend Kaylee.
Yes.
In terms of the mix to come on and to get involved in media. And indeed, he has been able to grow and to thrive so much. And really, as I always make the point, folks, and this is my opportunity to remind you of that, sometimes it just takes one to believe in our young persons. And we got to give them the benefit of the doubt. Too often as a society, and I'm happy you brought it out, we are too busy and eager to fight down and to highlight the negative something that has happened. As if the older generation is perfect. You all have made many mistakes, and we know. We know you didn't just get as good as you are now. We know that you have made mistakes. And so let's not just harp on the negative element. There are young persons out there doing exceptional things. And sometimes they just need one other to believe in them and to give them that motivation and encouragement. And we'll see the amazing things that our youth population can continue to do as part of contributing to the development thrust. In fact, if I am to use the political example, we've made changes. We've now got a younger minority leader and a younger chief secretary. Take note and look at the Caribbean region and the world at large. We're doing things differently. That's the only way we're going to attempt to yield some kind of different results. So kudos and commendations out there continuing to do great things.
Well, viewers, we're going to go for a quick break, but we'll be right back. But in the meantime, please remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.